Hi, everybody. So following on from our last discussion, there was a point that James brought up, which I wanted to go into in a little bit more detail, and that is the following paradox. So my personal belief is that companies are acting like they care less about people than they ever have done. I think in a lot of companies, there is an active program to reduce headcount and replace people with technology. I don't think I'm the only person that believes that this is an active program. And if your company falls behind on that, it's going to probably become uncompetitive as others work out ways of increasing revenue and profit per employee and all of those types of things. Now, that might suggest that talent acquisition is therefore of less importance. But I believe that with this motion, companies have got to focus on the concept of talent density. They've got to focus on the concept of, if we've got less people, they need to be able to do more things. We need more Swiss Army knives. We need more people who can move from one task to another task seamlessly. And therefore, potentially the opposite is true, and talent acquisition becomes even more important. James, you've got some views on that. Tell us what you think.
Yes, yeah, no, definitely so. And I think that's a great kind of intro to this subject, Adam. I mean, at the moment, we all know the phrase "do more with less." Every time we're told by our organisations this is what we need to be doing. But let's kind of take a step backstream, if we want to call it that, and let's look at connecting this with the market, because the tension in the market at the moment, and we all see it. We've got reduction in headcount, we've got cost discipline coming back, efficiency is under scrutiny, and yet at the same time, companies are saying to us, we need exceptional talent. We need people who raise the bar. We need to differentiate. And in many respects, that kind of feels very contradictory, but it's actually not. What we're really looking at in many ideals is the shift with organization from scale to selectivity. And I think that's probably the best way of putting it. In growth cycles, companies set themselves up to optimize expansion. Let's call it contraction cycles, they optimize for performance density. And when capital is tighter, margins are pressured, companies can't afford average individuals. Every hire needs to be justified to the kind of the X extent. And we're always trying to create leverage. And I think the major issue that comes with that is that whilst total headcount might decrease, what actually is happening is the quality threshold is increasing. So hiring doesn't become about hiring more people and volume and scale. It's about hiring fewer people, but actually more impactful ones. So we go back to that phrase of doing more with less.
So more purple squirrels.
I'm not sure if that kind of purple squirrels, but it's understanding clarity and being laser focused on how a role, or let's call it a requisition, moves the needle. So it's actually a shift in strategy from scale to talent density. So performance density is now reverted to in terms of the strategy. So we're asking ourselves different questions now. We're not asking how quickly can we go from 200 to 5 people, from 500 to 3,000 people. We're asking ourselves, okay, who actually moves the needle? Where does kind of that disproportionate impact come from? Who are the individuals who we really are going to see make that huge impact in a short time scale? And more importantly, which roles unlock revenue, which roles create innovation, and which roles create speed? Because if we look at how we've traditionally viewed, and tying this to kind of talent partners, we've always been in awe of talent partners who can move quickly, can fill roles quickly. Everything is delivered at a pace and at speed. But now, is that the critical point? Surely the point now is game-changing talent. because resources are shrinking. Differentiation matters a lot more, not less. Well, I mean, realistically, if you can't outspend your competitors, you have to think better, you have to execute better, you have to operate more efficiently, you have to innovate more efficiently. So where we're going from now is really going from a volume approach to a capability approach. Does that make sense?
It does. Now, brings me on to another question, which is, I know that you're a enthusiastic proponent of like executive recruiting kind of principles. I wonder if what that means is, what you've just described there, is more people within a traditional talent acquisition team are going to have to apply the highly skilled, process-led, research and insight-led, um, extremely sophisticated EQ-led type of approach towards hiring for roles that are not just C-suite, but like right into more of the organization from here.
Well, I think it brings us back to some of the conversations we've had previously around AI, that again, I go back to that idea of managing volume, speed, etc., equal a strong talent partner. Now, because we've got the capability of automation around sourcing, etc., it's judgment, it's assessment that now becomes more important. And I think that feeds through not just from our technological, if I can say that, ideals, but also now into the impact that we're having from the market. Because what you'll find is how do I explain this? When you're going, okay, we need to raise the bar, we need the top 1%, they're labels, they're not reality. Top 1% for one organization in a certain context is different from another organization. Oh, we need people to come from the Googles, from the Metas of this world. Well, do you? So that kind of brings us back to the ideal of definition, role clarity, understanding truly what impact is required and articulated. And that then is kind of the game-changing piece, which brings our talent partners into being more focused and responsible for outcome. And also the advisory relationship they have with their hiring managers, being able, as we discussed previously, to challenge their hiring managers. What is the real impact of this? Are we clear how this role moves the needle? Or are you just thinking, well, I need another individual in my tech team? Let's demonstrate how we do this. And one of the really impactful pieces around that is not just skill set, it's operating style, it's decision making kind of under constraint, it's ability to leverage in that specific context. So what you're looking at is, without that clarity, then I go back to companies chase labels rather than impact. And again, it kind of goes back to a previous conversation we had about return on investment from talent organizations, from the talent function. If you truly don't understand where the return on investment comes from each and individual role, and actually be kind of cascading it upwards, that doesn't really work, but cascading it upwards to each role having a defined contribution to the overall mission, then you obviously get that mission slip, and in a constrained market it becomes even more important. So I think the focus is clarity and understanding in an organization what those game-changing impactful pieces are, and then aligning the talent and talent acquisition function to going out and getting them, but ensuring that they are incredibly specific about who they need. And that then, as we've discussed, brings on, okay, surely talent acquisition is now becoming even more important, and it's more specified and more skilled role than it maybe have been previously.
Yeah, it makes me think of one of the things that we offer in poetry in our sort of research solution is um, you put into poetry, we're hiring for this job in this location, and it comes out with a pack of research, which is all about what's the diversity profile in this location for this type of job, what's the availability versus demand, or what's yes, availability versus demand. What's the what are the main skills involved in the job? We also do things like what is the potential for this role to become automated so that talent partners are understanding, should they be pushing back on their hiring managers around, that's not a job we need to replace today. And then the other one we offer is what's the strategic importance of this role to your organization? And it gives us like a couple of paragraphs, which are a few bullet points, which explain the strategic significance of the role to the organization. One thing we might do is actually make that even more simple. So color code it, like red is massively important, and it could be a C-suite role, or it could be a role in that's just of huge importance, right down to a green, which is it's not that important, or whatever it might be. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think that would be a fantastic attribute to really provide as part of the poetry offering, because if we look at, and I'm going to tie it into kind of the downsizing approach that we're seeing everywhere at the moment. If you consider that through downsizing, the dynamic in the organization shifts, you've got people carrying more responsibility, you've got people having to operate with less support, that do more with less ideal. You've got individuals who are going to have to take more autonomy. If through your platform, you can very easily demonstrate the importance of a role to the overall kind of mission ideal of the organization, it then really does focus on that efficiency piece and return on investment piece. And I think for hiring managers especially, that will enable, well, for hiring manager, let's go to the talent partner first. It gives the talent partner real, what I'd call kind of real leverage in the discussion with the hiring manager. It gives the hiring manager real leverage in discussion for building a business case as to why this is required. So what you've then got is the relationship with the talent partner and the hiring manager becoming much closer, which then delivers the clarity that's required, which more times than not, if you've got clarity over your role and a strong partnership, you do deliver higher quality candidates in a more efficient time period. We all know that when we've got a disassociation between talent partner and hiring manager, that's where issues come up, and we find that we've got huge time to hire, and it brings back to the ideal within the market. In the current time, regardless of what level the hire might be, an incorrect hire not only affects cost, it affects strategic direction of the organization because you're so focused on it. And if we then think about that, the downsizing piece, from a talent partner's perspective, because they then require more higher autonomy, downsized organizations need their individuals to be more resilient, more adaptable, and really be accountable. That's the key piece, accountability. So it's not just skill, your operating model as an organization has to mature. And a lot of organizations, I think, when they're looking at their downsizing strategy, are literally doing it from a team sheet and kind of going, well, you're quite expensive, we'll exit you, without truly understanding the return on the investment of that individual. So it ties us all the way back to the ideals of talent acquisition in a constrained market, and then looking at, okay, who's impactful and who in a redundancy process we should be targeting. So we often look at it in individual stages, but it's not. It's a kind of a living organism.
Symbiotic.
It all fits together.
Absolutely. James, extremely interesting topic. I think it's very of the moment. People need to be thinking about this. and great to see you. Thanks again for your time.
No problem. Great to see you, Adam, and hopefully we will catch up again soon.